Ah, you were
Apparently
overconfident.
it was my email's turn this time. Okay. I assume we are ready to get started, yes?
Yes.
Okay, I call this special board meeting to order at 6:32, and I see that all board members are present. Before we get a motion for the approval of the agenda, I'd like to request that we adjust the order just a little bit. So I'm hoping that we can move the board self-evaluation and reflection to the beginning, because that's a piece that's just the five of us. So kind of like we do that, and then we'll bring on Isabel, and Isabel's kind of with us for the rest of it. So I would make that recommendation, and then also we maybe want to switch C and D. The protocols will just kind of be, there's a few things we maybe want to discuss if there's time, but we're trying to keep this meeting to an hour. So essentially B becomes A, and A becomes B, and then C becomes D, and D becomes C.
Okay, can I make a motion that we amend the agenda as Michelle just explained?
I'll second that.
Is there any questions or comments about that? All right, all those in favor, please say aye.
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 Chair votes aye, and with that, the motion passes. Thank you. For tonight, this is for public comment. So because it is a special board meeting, public comment is only for items that are on the agenda. So we will take if there's any public comment on any of the items, so that would be the discussion on the annual organization meeting, the board self-evaluation and reflection, except we're doing opposite order of that, California School Board Association Delegate Assembly, and board goals, protocols, roles, and responsibilities. So if there's any public comment on any of those items, please use the raise hand feature now. And then just as we're waiting a minute, I'm using my iPad because our other devices are being used by other people tonight. Is my volume sound okay?
Michelle, can you just tell me the order one more time?
Yes, so board self-evaluation and reflection is first.
Okay.
Then the discussion on annual organization is second.
Okay.
Then California School Board Association Delegate Assembly is third, but they kind of tie together, those two.
ADC.
And the last one will be board goals, protocols, roles, responsibilities.
Thanks so much.
Yeah. Aaliyah, is there any comments? Okay. All right, so we are on to board self-evaluation and reflection. So just as a reminder, hopefully you had seen that email, and hopefully you took some time to kind of reflect personally on something you felt like you did well this year and something that you want to work on. That's just for our own personal reflection that we don't need to share tonight. But what I'd like us to share and take some time on is to kind of discuss our board goals, not goals, grows and glows from the year. So something that you maybe feel like we did well as a board, and then maybe one thing that you feel like is something we could work on or consider for the upcoming year. And then just kind of as an FYI, this is kind of a short reflection. And then I'm thinking, if everyone likes the idea, that we would probably do a more like formal evaluation like we've done in the past in the spring. It seems like kind of makes sense. In January and February, we'll kind of have some governance training and team building. And so then it kind of makes sense that maybe a few months after that will give us a chance to kind of reflect on that and have one of the more formal evaluations that we do. So yeah, is there somebody who would like to go first, sharing their reflections? If not, I'm happy to go first, but if someone else would like to. Okay. Oh, go ahead, Nancy.
So one of my grows is Zoom. That's not something that we had planned before and was a part of our way of doing meetings. And I think as a group, we gained in mastery about using this as a platform and vehicle for not only our board work, but opportunities to increase engagement among our entire community.
That's great. Thank you, Nancy. And we can like comment off each other, share our own, right? Yeah, Reed.
Yeah, I think in terms of what we've done well, I think we've been really responsive to the community and to our teachers. I mean, it's kind of the flip side of the coin of what we haven't done well, which is please everybody. And I think that's just been so hard. And, you know, I wish there was a way to make everybody feel like they've been heard and like we understand. And I know we try to say that. I'm not sure that people believe us. When we say, you know, we're listening, we're trying, we really want to make this work. And that's been a frustration. But I actually feel like we've been really transparent, like ever since that meeting that we messed up and we didn't have room for people. I think that really hit home how much people want to know what's going on, how people are getting engaged and they want to be part of our decision making and they want to hear our decision making. And I feel like we've really been responsive to the community and having lots of meetings and giving people a chance to be heard. And I don't know if they feel heard, but we've definitely really tried. So I appreciate all you guys for that. I mean, I feel like we're stumbling forward with our eyes half shut, but I'm just not sure how to do it any other way. You know, we're getting better, but it's hard.
A good description of that, I feel like.
Like, yeah.
Stumbling for your best, yeah. Anyone else want to share comments from what someone else said or?
Well, I think as a board, I mean, I know that it's not, you know, I think I was thinking about things that, you know, with the November gratitude and stuff, I think I take for granted that this is a very respectful board to one another, even when we disagree with each other or may not align on things. There are no restraining orders yet. And there are no, you know, there's no shouting in, you know, I just feel like it's a respectful and it feels like for me personally, it feels like a safe place to be a board member. Like I can be myself. You feel like you're patient with me. I feel like we're all looking at for the positive in each other. And I feel like we do that for the district that we work with as well. I feel like this board is pretty compassionate. Yeah, I really do feel like we do a good job of listening to each other as well as listening to the community. So I just am very appreciative of that right now.
I'm typing these. Would you like me to project it or not? Would that get in the way? No? Okay.
I'd rather see when people are talking.
Yeah.
Yeah, we won't be able to see each other. Yeah.
Yeah, that's the downside.
It feels weird. It feels more like a conversation this way, but I'm okay with either, whatever.
I think it might be nice to see.
Well, say we could maybe talk a little bit more and then we can look at it to kind of, I was actually trying to take some notes. I'm glad, Mike, that you're doing that. We can kind of look at it and say, oh, I kind of meant it like this, and then we can kind of have that.
I think, is this for us as a board altogether, or like, is that what you're saying? I think in general, I think we've done a pretty good job of reaching out to people as well. Like, I know that, like, I know I've been reaching out to people when they speak at the board meeting or, you know, in the community and the neighbors. And I know so many of you are too. And I feel like we're trying to be connected more than just board meetings. You know, I feel like whether it's through your own kids or whether it's, you know, just being a community member, I feel like people are extending themselves. So I appreciate that as well.
So one of the things I do think that we have is a good balance of people who are engaged and bring perspectives from different areas and walks of life. I appreciate that Jeff brings in that real school administrator moments, especially working with youth who are not seen as much in our district, but who have very unique educational and social emotional needs. And I appreciate that wisdom. I think we cover the community well from the perspective of our personal engagement, but also we're a board who takes advantage of professional opportunities to grow. Thinking about everybody attending the AEC, and we're highly engaged at the county level, and then with Reed also being a delegate, we've had that broad spectrum of input.
I'm like getting all emotional. Everyone talking about how great our board is. This is a little rough. Really shouldn't be here.
No, you should, because this is a part of your, this is a board is a living, growing thing. And this is who we are at this moment in time. And it's a time to celebrate.
And think about leaving a good board is much better than leaving a board that's dysfunctional, right? That would actually, in all reality, be harder.
Yeah, you guys have made it much easier for me to leave, really. So I appreciate that. I feel like you guys are in a great place, and I'm happy Isabel's here. And thanks for being here tonight, Isabel. And it's all good. It's just, gosh, it's the end of an era. So it's hard.
Nancy, did you have more that you wanted to share?
I was going to say that we pivoted to the pandemic, but we continue to do the business that we needed to do, keeping our eyes and focus on students and student achievement. And I like the 4 pillars that we adopted of our approach into the pandemic, and looking at it in a broader perspective rather than being so crisis oriented that we forgot the work that we needed to do around equity and inclusion.
Thanks, Nancy. One of the ones that I would love to add, I mean, I echoed, agree with what you guys have all said. One that I'm kind of thinking about, and it's interesting, I was thinking about it, and then I think kind of what Reed said, like read what she thinks we've done well. Some people might not agree with, and I think this could be one of those as well. But I feel like something that we do well is acknowledging what is hard and being real. And I think sometimes it maybe doesn't look like that, because a lot of the presentations or other things, we are trying to celebrate the good. We don't want to focus on too much of the negative. But I think we don't sugarcoat things, right? We're willing to talk about the hard things. And I think maybe it kind of connects a little bit with what some of us were sharing earlier too, of like, we reach out to the community, right? We are aware of what's going on. So that's something that I appreciate about this board.
Yeah, I agree with all of that. That kind of goes along with what it's really funny, this crisis has really just dominated the year. I mean, I was trying to think of something that was a little more fair that I knew that would kind of be, the first and foremost, but I really can't get past how this board has developed since I've been on. I mean, I think like just even 10 years ago, there is really a movement to outreach to the community a lot more than we used to. And I really genuinely feel that we all, it was just like Reed was saying, we want to please everybody. And I think in my own experience with leadership, whether I was following somebody or in a position, I've always kind of understood that you're not going to. And sometimes I think I get a little too comfortable with that. So I like the way we do push for more. But I think in our area of grow, I think sometimes I always worry because I know we got a lot of emails about, you know, so it's fun to read the emails telling us that we're not, you know, doing well. We need to make a decision. And when you like really reflect on the fact that it's just, we are making a decision, but it's just not the decision that they want us to make, right? Sometimes I worry that we do get too caught up in that for like a grow part, you know, where we do have to make a decision. It might be a tough one. And that might be, and I do really love our focus on equity. But I think sometimes when we look at equity and we want to make the right decision for, especially for a population that doesn't have a significant voice, we're going to upset a number of people. And I do worry that in the current condition, I worry that I didn't speak up enough on that.
I think that's a good reminder, right? That, yeah, the equity work and decisions around equity are going to be hard, and a lot of people might not love some of the decisions.
Yeah, like I'm really excited that we are having our board meetings translated. You know, I think that we're reaching a lot more people, and just having that available, it's a signal, and it's a positive. And you know, for me, you know, I feel like an area of, when I think about an area of growth, I think it's, even though it's really hard to get out there to all the different sites, you know, every site, I signed up for, I think 6 or 7 PTAs. Like I just joined, so I would get their email. I've liked them on Facebook. I just tried to see what's going on. And because I don't have a child enrolled at any of the schools, I feel like I get the information like later, because they must be getting information from their teacher, or maybe because it's all coming at me differently. So like I was thinking that one thing that we could improve on as a board was to maybe, you know, even if we can't go to everything, I think it would be nice if when we do come together as a group in January and think about how we, you know, responsibilities and stuff, I think it would be nice if we would say like, hey, you know, ELEC meetings are really important, really interesting to us. And we would like, or, you know, like SMS is going to have tomorrow night, they're going to have a multilingual family information night. It's going to have information on ELEC. It's going to have other stuff. And it's in 2 languages, right? Like we don't have to hire another translator for me to be there. And I just feel like things that we want to like really say like, hey, like my goal personally as a board member is to get to every school, to get, even if it's a virtual event, get to every school this year, right? But I think if we could, like as a board, like think about things that are community things that are really important, and then commit that we would attend them, like, you know, as a group. Like I think we could do a little more of that, but it's going to take some organizing, you know, or like a system or something. I mean, I love running into everybody at those things or whatever, but do you know what I mean? I don't want any school or community to feel left out or devalued. So I think it could take a little planning on our part. So that's the grow for me, is to maybe do a little planning around the soft skill stuff, the soft visits.
So I think,
just a thought.
no, I would agree that that's an area of growth. I think that the virtual component actually is going to make that easier. It's a matter of learning how to manage being present without being disruptive. Because when I hop in, before when I would go to a site, I could move in and out of a classroom almost unnoticed. But when I enter into a classroom now, I feel like I'm being disruptive or distracting. And the same thing with parent, the back to school nights with parents. I had, because I might not join at the time that they started, somebody has to bring me in. And so this is like disrupting the flow. So I would like to be able to refine those opportunities and make our presence in the virtual world as comfortable to stakeholders as possible.
Well, let me just add on to, I was thinking more of like community events, like when they have like, just like they have little things like Cherry Chase had a scavenger hunt, or Cumberland had a sing along. I was thinking more like that type of thing. But, when we were I know there are ways to do that, because when we were, what you're talking about, because when Mike and I were out at Lakewood, to look at the setup for the sheltered learning group. Do I have that right, Mike? Yeah, okay. When we were out at Lakewood for that, Pam, the principal regularly goes in and out of classrooms. She's in and out all the time. And so we just kind of joined her while she virtually was hopping around, and it wasn't a big deal, and everyone ignored us. And,
Right. But
I think I agree. But yeah, let's talk about it. I agree. For balance. That's what I mean. And broadness.
I want to talk about another thing. Another positive was, I think it's like Michelle, your leadership this year. The first year is amazing. I mean, I know there were some meetings that didn't go according to plan, but you like dug in there and hung in there. And I think you've been more of a stable force than what even comes across in the board. I mean, I know personally for me, you were pretty, really good. And I appreciate that.
Thank you.
Really proud of our ability to
I agree.
bring you on the board. And
Me too. I second that.
I remember at the beginning of the year, Reed said everyone's first year as president she used a word I don't use, but she, said everyone's year is kind of hard. And I thought maybe the mandarin thing in my very first meeting in January was going to be that hard thing, but I think I take the cake for hard first year president.
Oh yeah, you're talking about, because when I was president, we had the whole Spark thing, and it was just like, and I said, when you're president, sometimes all the stuff just hits. And Michelle got it in spades, girl. In life.
Well, and also hiring a new superintendent. I mean, I know COVID kind of buries that sometimes too.
Yeah, we've had a lot this year for sure. I have one it's kind of it's a glow specifically for Reed, but then because she's leaving, it's kind of a grow for us. So I think one of the things that I'm sad with about Reed leaving is I think she's really good at, like, when there's two sides, articulating and balancing those two sides. And to give kind of, I think you guys probably all know that, but to give an example, I think it was this year, like I'm so thrown off in time because of the pandemic, but there was the issue with the neighbors and the new maintenance building out in the yard. And she like talked to the neighbors. She like said, hey, here's the meeting. And then at the meeting, we heard from staff, then we heard from the neighbors with their frustrations. And Reed just did a really good job. The way she articulated, she like, I feel like she helped them feel heard. Like, we hear you, like that is hard. But then she also explained, this is why it needs to be done this way. So that's just one example, but I think Reed does that really, really well. And so I think losing her, we're kind of losing that asset, right? I think some of us can do it, but she just does it really fantastically. And so that's one of the things I'm a little bit worried about. Like, that's a great asset that we're kind of losing. So maybe if we're all kind of aware that we all need to like step in and try to embrace that asset that Reed has.
Thanks, Michelle.
We'll be channeling you, Reed.
I can come in and just sort of be the mediator and like cry with people and tell them we hear them, and then leave.
Mike, did you want to lean in about your observations?
Well, I think I would add, similar to Reed's or to Michelle's comment about Reed, with a new board member, learning Isabel's strengths and integrating them into the team because they'll be different and wonderful in their own way, and kind of reforming as a team.
That is great. Yeah, adding that is one of the grows. That's great.
I mean, Nancy and Jeff have been through this so many times, right? Like I've been through it a couple of times, a few times. This is actually, I think, I mean, this is just such an awesome board, like my favorite since I've been on. I'm not just saying that, but it's really like the dynamic is very different every time it changes. And so you guys have been through that, but everyone adjusts, right? And it's, I don't know, like what's it like for Nancy and Jeff having gone through that so many times?
I think it's part of the reason why I still find it exciting and engaging because it's dynamic. We bring in more voices from the community as we change. And it gives that opportunity, as Jeff alluded to, about that self-reflection, you know, how good is good enough? What areas do we need to grow? And I find that as people come onto the board, it allows us to rethink and reimagine. I don't like, there are many things that we do well, but I want to continue to be dynamic and growing. How good is good enough? Continuous progress. That's one way that we can continually move forward as a board. It's the gift to be able to share continuity of shared values, and it's great when you have that turnover and everybody makes the commitment to those shared values again. You don't take them for granted.
I like that. I like that. Like dynamic and growing.
I do like how our board allows the individual to step forward with their own style and their own strengths. So I think for a while there, we had some that had to kind of fit into a mold, and that was the expectation. And I think, like I said, I think for a while there, we got a little closed off from the community as a result of that. It's, like I said, it's just one of the benefits is you can come in as your own person and express yourself, learn how to be a board member and adapt to that. There's no one forcing you into a, square hole.
Does CSBA still teach that you're supposed to have like your board face and you're not supposed to show any emotion? Because I remember that and I've never listened to that. I think that's not, I don't like that. Like, I think showing your emotion and that you're human and that you care is super important. And I think we all do that. Probably Michelle and I the most, and Bridget gets some tears in there too sometimes. But like, I just feel like we're all human and there's no point in just sitting there stoic and like not pretending like you're human. And I know that CSBA used to teach us that. And I just have never subscribed to that. Does CSBA still teach that? Bridget, you've taken classes. Do they talk about that?
Sure, they totally do. But it's funny. I was thinking about that because I was thinking that one of the things we could grow in a little bit, even though we've come a long way on Zoom, I was thinking that, maybe we could just take some time in the new year and look at our protocols around Zoom, because, for example, you're talking about Reed. I mean, just like in general, right? Like that will be a grow for us, is like how to function in the virtual world, because, what you're talking about, Reed, I was attending someone else's board meeting. I think it was Cupertino's, and they just have a practice of when the public is talking, they don't show the Brady Bunch Zoom faces, right? They don't show that. So when the public is talking, they don't see like me going, yeah, or like, they don't see any of that. All they see is someone's screenshot of the agenda item. And I think, so that's like a good like thought thing for me, because I didn't really think about like people need, like if they were in the room, they would see us, right? Like, because we don't do the board thing, I mean, much. So I mean, and when you're on Zoom, like they're right up there, like they get a close view of your face, and they can go on YouTube later and look
and
at
we see each other too, which is interesting, right? Like that's one of the things that struck me when we first started doing Zoom, is I'm not used to looking at your faces when we're on the dais, right? I'm just used to looking out, unless I have to turn my head and look at you. But this way, I see every reaction that all of you have. And it was really like a weird adjustment at first, because I wasn't used to seeing your faces and your reactions. And not that we're like super reacting, but it's just different, right?
it's
when
different,
you're
right?
looking
Yeah.
at
So I hadn't really thought about, I guess, so it's interesting that you're saying that, but I feel like, we communicate, plus is that we do communicate like we're real people,
And obviously there's an extent, like, you try not to like roll your eyes and all that stuff. Like you want to be respectful to everybody, but it's just, I don't want to be a blank slate.
Yeah.
The mannequin.
I think Mike and Jesus, if you could maybe make a note of that, I think that is a good idea we don't really have, we kind of have Zoom protocols, but nothing really official, as we've been kind of figuring out as we go. So I think making a note to have that a part of a discussion in January, I think would be good.
For best practice.
I think it'd be really good to watch other Zoom meetings too, board meetings, right? I've only been to one other one, and it was really interesting just to see how they reacted and stuff. But yeah, it might be interesting to see how other boards do it and just get ideas of pros and cons.
The other thing I'm interested in as an area of growth is to I know there's the governance calendar of things that we look at, but I'm interested in maybe doing some, like when we have a development meeting, which we've had so many meetings, and it feels like we haven't really had a lot of development meetings, because every meeting is like a development meeting, right? It's a deep data dive, and it's like lots of information and discussion and questions. So every meeting is a special topic about something totally new. And, it's like every meeting is important. But when we eventually get to the development meetings again, like what I would think would be maybe a area of growth for us is some check-ins on our board goals. I think Nancy, at the end of last year, maybe when Mike first came on, you were talking about having like our statements always kind of front and center for us, whether it's the mission, equity, all that stuff, having some of that stuff. I know in the boardroom it was on the wall, right? But here, it's different. So it would be good to maybe check in with that, or maybe make sure that we're connecting with it. Just like when they say the CSBA training, to make sure that you are really you're not just talking about approvals and stuff, that you're talking about business and students, the business of students, and student learning, and that's what you're focused on. And so maybe it would be good to just kind of look at how we're structuring our agenda, or check in frequently on our areas of focus. That just a thought I had.
I think that's good,
Thank
Bridget.
you.
And I think you were talking about both study sessions and board development. And I think I talked to a couple of you about during the fall, we had lots of, every 2 weeks, which was fine, but we didn't have any time for board development to go back and reflect on ourselves. So I think as we build the calendar, that might be something that we watch for.
Yeah, thank you. If we want to try to be finished by 7:30, we probably want to kind of get this wrapped up. So Mike, do you want to pull up the notes so we can kind of look over it? And I just wanted to kind of share one, which we could have a long discussion, but this was the one that I was kind of reflecting on. So as Mike's pulling that up, and this isn't necessarily a grow, it's just I think a kind of a reminder. I think often we do this well, but then sometimes we, and me included, kind of forget, but staying focused on our priorities and focus areas, and maybe kind of if we do more of what kind of Bridget was saying, if we kind of go back to those more often, it will kind of help us. But I think keeping in mind our role, and I hate the phrase like don't go into the weeds. I hate that phrase because weeds seem negative, and the work that gets done by staff is not negative. Like that's really important. I wish there was another word, but that phrase of like going into the weeds, a reminder that it's not our role, right? That like I think sometimes I think, oh, I have these great ideas, I want to be the one solving the problems.
So that's the
but remembering my lane.
Yeah, that's the governance clock.
Yeah. So I think that's just not necessarily something. I think often we do this one well, but it was just a reminder that I think sometimes me included, kind of, get into areas and then we like go on to, sometimes we'll go on a small thing and forget like, okay, this is the bigger issue. Let me focus on that.
Yeah, I think
okay, so
I agree with you. I think the challenge right now is that it feels like there's so much change going on there, and there's so many like things we're being asked to consider. Like, so I think what I appreciate is we're all pretty careful people, like we don't just like, I think it's a pretty thoughtful board. And I agree with you, Michelle, as someone who goes into the weeds frequently. But I feel like, all of that information builds. And so, I don't know. I mean, I do want to stay in my lane, but I do want to feel this is the whole issue of like right now, it's not that I don't trust the district. Okay. Like it's not that my level of trust is low for the district employees at the, who are preparing this information, but the community's level of trust is low for everybody and everything, I think. And I feel like with the pandemic, it's a big learning curve for everybody, So in general, yeah, I think it would be great this year if we could stay focused on the goal, but which is like student learning and wellness and community thriving, but and all that stuff. But I think that I don't know. I'm nervous about saying, don't. I feel like when I hear you say that, I'm having a reaction because I feel like I know I'm a person who asks a lot of questions. So.
Well, Bridget, I think, and just for all of us, I think it's probably just something to be aware of and to practice.
Yeah.
So if we're aware of it, and then like we're conscious of whatever focus we're having or not having, that's where the growth will come.
Mm-hmm.
And then evaluate afterwards.
Okay. Let's write it down.
It's always a process, right? Like I'll catch myself and be like, okay, this is like two things. One, I'm going into the weeds and I'm not staying in my lane, or it's not that I'm necessarily going to the weeds, but I'm focusing on something that's not actually what's most important to the board. So I need to like refocus it might not even be a weed thing, right? So it's as much for me, right? Like, and I think we do a fairly good job, but it's just a good reminder. Okay. Do you want to scroll down a little bit, Mike, so we can see the other part? And then
so there's all the glows.
We'll move on.
Then here's all the grows.
Oh, and could we add one more about like as a board I'm really excited that we have those little equity blurby things like discussions, like keeping equity on the agenda. Like I really think that was great. We've done a lot of equity work, and for a grow, I would like to maybe go a little deeper and get some homework for the board on it. It doesn't have to be, in-depth homework that would require a ton of time, but I did hear Jeff say that he'd be willing to read a book or a chapter. So I would like to do a little more. I'd like to go a little deeper into some of these topics that would require a little more preparation on our part, so we could have a real discussion and get a, not just for the sake of doing it, but for the sake of, serving the kids and understanding what is going on at the district and having a better understanding.
And I thought that was like, periodically, continuously, not just one time, by the way. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Okay, I'm sure we could keep talking about this for super long, but we're probably going to be a little bit after 7:30 as it is. So are we good if we move on to the next? And we will have this ongoing conversations about these things, right, coming up in the next year. Thank you, everybody, for those great discussions. Okay, so we are now on to discussion on the annual organization meeting for the Board of Education. So if you guys, for anyone who's helpful, we got that email today from Jesus with that part that Nancy had written up, kind of some descriptions of some of the things. So you can pull that out if you want, or if you just look in the agenda for this item, it also has the list of the board offices and committees. So if that's helpful, having that in front of you. So if anyone has thoughts of things they want to do, or maybe there's something that you're doing that you would like to continue, or you want to do something new. And one thing, it was interesting. So Nancy's write-up did it well, but the liaison, let's see. The representative to the Santa Clara County Committee on School District Organization. It's so funny. I had always been really confused about it. And I think maybe some of the board thinking that was oh, you go vote on stuff and you're on a committee. But then I was actually talking to a board member from somewhere else and learned that position, so maybe a lot of you guys already know that, but that position is just, we appoint a person to then fill out the ballot each year for us. So that was something that I totally had not understood and just learned what that actually meant a week and a half ago.
Wait, what if there's a hearing though? Because we've had hearings before.
So there is a committee, but the committee is not made up of one person from each board. So I can't remember what the committee is called, and I don't know exactly how it all works, but we as the board, each board either picks somebody. So we've always picked Jeff to then fill out the ballot for us, or boards can together fill out the ballot of whoever's running. And then those people who are running based on each board's ballot will be put onto the committee who does the hearings and listens to the hearings, if that makes sense. Maybe
we vote for representative, kind of like a delegate assembly.
So that was, some of you guys probably know that, but that was good information for me. And Nancy's write-up of it is that. What did you say, Bridget?
Who does that now?
Jeff.
Yeah.
So it literally requires you get the email and you fill out the ballot. And that ballot actually just came a week or two ago or something.
That's how I learned what it was too.
But the committee is interesting because the committee actually does get together. We had gone to some meetings when we were dealing with some issues in terms of people that wanted to move to Cupertino and it was actually really interesting because they have to vote on it. So if one of our board members wanted to be on that committee, then they could figure out when the time is to do that or whatever.
Well, I'm interested in being the representative or the alternate for the CSBA. And Nancy, you've been the representative for a long time. So if you want to keep being the representative, I'd put my name in the hat for the alternate. and I know we can both go. And then if you don't go to a meeting, I could vote. Or if someone else wants to do that, like I'm just saying what I'm interested in. So don't feel like I'm super attached. The only one that I'm kind of attached to now is the Sunnyvale Education Foundation. And that's not a board appointment. That's because I've been going to the meetings for several months, and they, offered to have me on. And honestly, if someone wanted to go to some of the, cover some of the meetings with me, or be a backup in case I couldn't go, that would be great, because one day Ethan will play volleyball again and he might have a Saturday game, but everything's up in the air. And I've had lots of Saturdays available, so I've been going to all the SEF things, and they're like, would you like to join? And I said yes. So I'm really now I'm really hooked, I really like the group, and I'm learning so much. So they're interested in having.
Did they make it Bridget, did they make it official on last Saturday?
Yeah, I mean, they said, we'd like you to be on this and stuff. And I didn't even think about it that we were having this meeting. So I signed up. But if someone would like to be a, crossover backup or something, that would be great, because I don't know how you felt, Reed, but if other people ever came or anything, but.
I know there were times that I covered for Reed in the meetings, and I thought it was nice to get a chance to see who is on the committee and make those kinds of connections.
Yeah, and I think anybody can come, right? It's not a big deal. Everybody, we could all meet there on Saturday, one Saturday a month. But as far as being responsible to give them a report out and following up with stuff, and emailing Mike afterwards and saying, hey, here's the 3 things that, they told me, and what do you think? And, then that would be my job, as far as I know. So, but the other stuff, last year I did the wellness committee, an alternate, and there were just a few meetings each year. That was really fun. Got to hear all the stuff that was going on at the schools. And I didn't really realize until later that a lot of their information was just going was going on within the group. They had some sort of a oh, and you've probably seen the newsletter, and I think it went out to employees and it didn't go to me. And so I wasn't forwarding it to the board, and I didn't figure that out till late in the game. And then we had the pandemic. So that was pretty lame, but it's a nice group of people. I liked working with them, and working with Rob. I'm interested in design and facilities and what's happening with the master plan. So I'm happy to stay on that. But Isabel happens to have a degree in architecture, and it's a really great way, honestly, Isabel, to hear about all the cool new projects that are happening. And, you get to meet some community members who've been around a while, and they ask great questions, and, they kind of go over whatever Rob's going to talk about to the board. They go over it early, so you kind of get a good learning curve. So Michelle and I are on that together. But if you wanted my spot, I mean,
yeah, that's the district. Which one is that one?
That's the Finance and Facilities Oversight Committee. And when it's not the pandemic, they feed you lunch.
Sure. Yeah. I'm very interested in that one. Yeah, I like the facilities idea.
So I am not opposed to stepping away from that. And then, and then challenge team, we can all go to, right? That's just.
Yeah, I had the ones that were there that I feel like we need to cover in one form or another, but they're not assignments. The ones that we need to focus in on are our board officers and our direct representatives to committees and organizations.
The challenge team is ridiculously early, when it's in person, especially. It's 7 a.m. or something, because they try to get it done before people have to go to work. And but it's really awesome. It's community members. It's run by the Department of Public Safety, and lots of great topics. And I think I was at one where the person presenting was from Sandy Hook, and talking about partnering with school districts and preventing violence. And, it's just really interesting. So I'm planning to go to those when they start up again. December, I don't think, last I heard they didn't have a topic, but
Yeah, we'd like to go to that one too. That was very interesting.
So yeah, and anyone can go to it, but you need to get on the list. And I think I indicated how to get on the list. You need to contact DPS directly.
Isabel, as you were kind of looking over that list, do you have any questions about any of the things in particular, or is there any ones that you have an interest in?
Yeah, I like the facilities one. Definitely. I like the challenge team. Actually, I could help in many of them whenever it's needed. Yeah, I don't understand exactly what you explained at the beginning about the SSCSBA.
Oh, the Santa Clara County School Boards Association is our county group that convenes all of the board members throughout the entire county. We send one representative who's voting to every meeting to help run that particular organization, but they have monthly meetings for which they have speakers and anyone can attend. It's a matter of having the designation of who is going to be voting for that organization.
And you decide that monthly. Whoever can go is going to vote for.
No.
Oh.
That we decide that now, but if and an alternative, but anyone can choose to be at the meeting any month they want to. If it's
I understand.
So yeah, so for the whole year there will be the one representative, and then they'll have an alternative. So the representative can't be there. The alternative essentially will be the representative, and that's for the whole year. And then again next year, we can change that so someone else can be a representative.
Okay.
Okay, so it sounds like, since we're talking about that right now, and based on what Bridget said, Nancy, do you still want to be the rep? And I'm assuming everyone is good with that. Yeah, if Nancy's the rep and Bridget's the alternative this year.
I mean, unless you want to do it or Jeff wants to do it.
Okay.
Are you
I'm good. I'm good with that unless
I'm good with it.
Okay. So we will plan on Nancy as the representative for the Santa Clara County School Board Association with Bridget as the alternative. For the representative to the Santa Clara County Committee on School District Organization, unless someone really wants it, I'm going with Jeff. Unless Jeff is sick of filling it out. Does someone else want it? Jeff, are you okay keeping it?
Yeah, I'm okay.
Okay.
My time is, like I said, this year also just, my time is very thin and I'm having a hard time balancing. So that's right up my alley, unfortunately. I wish I could do more. That's all I'm saying. I wish I could do more.
No, you're good. You always say that. And we always, remind you because of like,
I know
what
I've always say that. That's why. That's the guilt
with the
there.
job, you bring a lot in different ways, right? You do. Okay. The liaison to the district wellness committee. Who was doing that one? Were you doing that, Bridget?
Was me. I did not do a great job, but I did enjoy going. So I think
Were you the one responsible for COVID? Is that what happened?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, like this is all of my fault. So I think that there is no voting that happens there. It's really informational. They give you info. I mean, I think I've reported back when they've had things like the equivalent to Moms Against Drunk Drivers, but it was all about bicycle safety. Like they have interesting speakers that come in and they talk about all the PE coaches and stuff plan wellness activities like in the room. And I think DPS representatives are there and they talk about bike rodeos and stuff. So there's information there, but again, there's I could give you a tip if you'd like to do it. I could give you a tip on how to communicate out better. But I'm happy to do it again. I've got more, I've got more going on. It was actually in theory, kind of an easy committee to go on, not just because I didn't know about that newsletter and didn't report out enough, but I think it was really great. Like, as a new board member, I don't know, Isabel, if you'd be interested. I'm still totally willing to do it, and I'll do a better job this time if I do it. But as a new board member, it was kind of fun to hear what's going on, like at every school, and how they were doing like kind of, wellness activities, or, nutrition competitions, or they had like a chef competition, or they had the junior chef stuff all runs through them. And so, I don't know, as a new board member, that was it wasn't super demanding of me. It was more like listening and connecting and seeing people from every
form. Yeah, I would like that one. I could do that one and the facilities.
So Susan Sakala is now chairing that, and they'll probably have a meeting sometime this spring, but they don't have a date yet for that. So it's not a heavy meeting schedule this year.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so we'll do Isabel as the wellness committee liaison, and then just who wants to be the alternate for that?
Well, I'm happy to be the alternate. Like, I can,
Okay.
We can go to a meeting together, and if there's more than one meeting or whatever,
Yeah,
I'll be the backup. No problem.
That's great. And Jesus, I'm assuming you're writing all this down as we're doing it, right? Thank you. Okay, and then liaison to the district facilities and finance committee. Is there anyone else who wants to do it, or are we good if it's Isabel and myself?
Yep, I'm good with that.
Okay. Okay, so that's those 4 official ones that we have to do. And then the board office positions. We've got board president, board vice president, and board clerk. So I'll just kind of share my thoughts, and then I'll open it up. So as I've kind of been reflecting on, I know sometimes we just have president 1 year, and sometimes we'd have them do it for 2 years. And a piece of me, because it's been so hard, wants to be done and not have that huge load. But then a piece of me, Jeff had said something a long time ago, just that we were talking, and he had mentioned, I had talked to him earlier in the year, and I'd gone to that board president, training from CSBA, and I had all these ideas and thoughts, and then COVID kind of happened. And so I haven't really been able to kind of help our board, kind of work on some of those things, or do some of those things, or have those discussions. So then a piece of me would kind of love to have another year, now that things are still crazy, but less crazy, to maybe kind of do more of that board development and kind of lead us through the board development stuff. So I would like to do it again next year, but I'm not sticking my foot down. I have to absolutely do it.
Well, I appreciate that, Michelle, because I think, to echo what Jeff said earlier, I think you've done an awesome job, not just running the meetings, but also the heavy load of correspondence. I mean, even though you could say it's somewhat formulaic in how you respond, it's so clear from your letters to people that you did read what you were given, and you were very diplomatic. And I know that took a lot of time and energy. So I really would like that. I would also, because I was the clerk this year, I was looking forward to being vice president and then having a chance to be the president, just for my own personal development as a board member. That's kind of why I jumped into the line. So, I would love to work with you and learn from you on that. But we also have other members who are really senior. Isabel, I don't want you to worry about anything, because you're going to get a fire hose of information coming at you this first year. I know that you're completely capable and you could do any role anybody gave you, but my first year, I took advantage of listening a lot and asking a lot of questions and learning, and going through that Masters of Governance. That takes a lot of time. And I started it, and I think the fires in Sonoma stopped it, and then COVID. So I'm missing a couple of classes, but it's really, I think you're really going to like it. And I think, so, you know, my advice would be to not jump into an officer position this year, unless, you know, nobody else can do it or wants to do it. But that's what I would like to do, because clerk is actually super random. It's just basically if like the president and the vice president are not in the meeting, then you have to run the meeting in the next one. And you sign a lot of paperwork. But anyway, I would like the chance to do that, but I think you did a great job this year as president. So bravo.
Thank you, Bridget.
Normally, Isabel, it would kind of, my understanding is it would kind of go, the vice president would then be president, and then the clerk would be vice president. You kind of like rotate through, and it's not, I don't think that that's formalized, but was how it's kind of explained to me. But Reed is stepping off, and so, you know, she won't be the president this next year. She'll be the president of the book. She'll be the book queen.
Where everybody reads in Santa Clara County. I would like to have a leadership position this year. I appreciate you're wanting. This is not a year that anybody would have planned for, and I understand the hunger to do it again differently. And the strengths that you will bring to that role. But I would like to be board president and to provide some leadership at this time to try and build up assets within the board as a whole. Looking at the longevity of the board dynamics.
Jeff or Isabel, do you have any thoughts of positions you want, or?
Not really. I think I have a lot to learn. If you need, maybe I will take the recommendation that Bridget gave. Like the easier one will be to start with clerk, which is like just in case both of you, whoever the both are, cannot do it. But I'm okay waiting a year before stepping into that to learn more and do it more efficiently.
Thanks. And Jeff, what are your thoughts?
I'm open to whatever the board needs. I would prefer not to have one of the officer positions. I mean, if I need to fill in as clerk, that's fine. But you know, I mean, this year, and I hear what Nancy's saying, and I appreciate that. But I mean, I also heard a lot of the plans that Michelle was making and didn't have the opportunity to really follow through with because of situations beyond her control. I think, you know, the fingers crossed as this year, you know, as things start reining in a little more, and we have some things coming up that were really up her alley, what she was trying to do with maybe restructuring or revising the superintendent evaluation, for example, the board self-evaluation. I would like to kind of see her have the opportunity to see those things through.
Well, you know, Jeff,
some of her personal goals, you know.
I don't see that is necessarily preemptive of any specific board position of doing it, revamping the process.
Well, it certainly helps with the working relationship she has in the PACA reviews and in the ongoing meeting.
Well, what I'm saying is that creating a new template for us and doing those design things are not are not solely aligned to having, can only be done by a board president or a vice president.
Well, no, I realize that. I'm the one that designed it last time, and I don't think I was president at the time.
Right.
I think what she wants to do is a little deeper than that, though. I think it really is more of a deeper dive, and that is a little bit more of a leadership position, what she was talking about. Just kind of putting it out there. I mean,
You know, I hate this. Let me just say, I just hate this because I love everybody on our board, and I want to make everybody happy, right? Like I did this at-home test with Coburn with like, you know, whatever his management team did at work. And it's like, I'm like the person that like wants everyone to be happy. I want to work it all out. But I really feel like Nancy, I just want to say that like, I don't feel like you need to be I know it helps if you're the board president to be the leader, but I feel like you are a leader on this board. Okay. Like regardless of what position you're in, I feel like you have a strong voice, you have a strong history. I mean, you've been on the board for over 20 years, right? How many years? 25 years. So, I mean, it's very clear that you have leadership and like what you say counts. Okay.
This is not coming from an ego.
I know. And you've done the job before. Like, I feel like you've probably had numerous times to be board president, right? And, I feel like it's such a weird thing, actually, that like the election timeline and the officer timeline of people coming into place is so different from the beginning of the school year. Like, wouldn't it be nice if all this was taken care of over the summer and then you could come in and like go for the whole school year? And like, in my mind, I sort of feel like having Michelle continue would be like a lot of continuity for the families as well, who have been like, she's been doing the correspondence and she's got the role, you know what I mean? And I just feel like, even though it will be great, whoever is running it and, doing whatever, like, I just feel like that continuity would be positive.
And Nancy, I know it's not about ego with you. I get that. I think my interest in this, just to kind of put this out there, is I know that this is going to be my last term. And I really want to make sure that the younger board members have, I kind of want to be there to support them in their own roles too, and make sure that they have that leadership experience and they can get through it. And because when I have a new board member that fills my position, then it makes me feel more secure as well.
I hear what you're saying, and I'm coming from that same place. I'm just viewing it a little bit differently. So my question is,
I've always been a baptism of fire guy, right? Just throw him in there.
I understand that. So my question is, who do you see as vice president?
So my recommendation, what I would like to see is, I feel funny saying me as president, but as I said before, president, with Bridget as vice president. And then what I would love to see, Nancy, would have you be clerk, so that then, you'd have that opportunity again.
I could learn that way. Then I could learn like when you could be like when Reed was supporting Michelle in her first year as president, then when I'm president, then you could be working with me. Like, you know what I mean? Like, then it would be, and then maybe Isabel could be clerk that year. You know what I mean? And then you could kind of, so there's always someone on either end. I don't know.
Well, I appreciate that, and that's the reason why in my thought process, I was thinking of pulling you up into that with someone who had a lot of experience. Not saying that Michelle isn't a mentor, but Michelle is seeking more experience because there's more things that she wants to do. And
the fact that Bridget feels comfortable coming into the vice president role this year too, that's awesome. Yeah, and Isabel, normally, I mean, in better times, we would have like coffee or something, and we get to know each other, you know. My phone number is always available, and I'm sure Nancy is the same way. You know, you can reach out to any of us. When we're talking about issues, we'll talk about the Brown Act, and you have to be a little more selective in that, but just general talk about the board, we're always available. So even if you just want to get to know us as individuals.
Sure, thank you.
Yes.
Well,
Yes. And Jeff and Nancy have lots of great wisdom. When I first got on the board, I met with each person individually and just kind of picked their brain, like, you know, just learned from each of them. Everyone has something to teach and learn, and yeah, it was a great blessing for me when I first got on.
And I do want to get together with Reed once in a while too, by the way. I want to include Reed in this conversation because I miss hearing from her in the meetings sometimes. So I think it's the longest I've ever heard her be quiet. So
yeah, well, it's true. And Isabel, like, Reed is someone that you could, right? She'll have good feedback, and you don't have to worry about Brown Act unless, you know, Reed just can't then talk to us about it. But she could be a good listening ear for you too. Okay, we are at 7:43. I want to be mindful of time. We can continue this discussion tonight. We can discuss this more when we actually vote on it. Kind of want to throw it out there to see what you guys would like to do.
Well, can we think about, we're not going to vote on it till December, till when? January?
Yeah.
December? January.
December. So I believe at the meeting on the 15th, I believe.
Yeah, so we can think about it, and
So the only,
I think I need to, yeah.
so the other reflection that I would have is that we have a new superintendent, and he's doing an awesome rocking job. And it's a matter of also being able to continue to support the superintendency with as much depth as we can as well. So that is another, it wasn't articulated, but that's another consideration that I want to invite the group to think about. Not that he can't reach out to any one of us at any particular time, but just looking at how can we support him best in his role too, and continue to grow as an organization.
Okay, so we will finish the discussion when we vote on it on the 15th. Does that sound good to everybody? Okay, we'll kind of quickly tag on. It was a separate item, but it's kind of similar. The California School Board Association Delegate Assembly. And Nancy, did you want to lead us through that?
Yes, the Delegate Assembly is voted on by the Santa Clara County School Boards Association group as a whole. Each district will get a ballot with people who can serve. Reed is actually the one who should probably speak to. I've been on Delegate Assembly before, but Delegate Assembly is the policy making organization touch point for CSBA. And they do a lot around advocacy. It's something that you meet twice a year with, and before once was at the convention and the other was in May in Sacramento. So that's something that I've been encouraged to run by colleagues, and I would appreciate your support in doing that. There are going to be a number of openings this year because of retirements. Mainly Reed, and I don't want to.
That's a tough one for me to lead too. That is an awesome group. So that's a tough one. That and the Santa Clara County School Boards Association, and you guys. Those are the three big ones.
Yes, yes, yes.
Well, I'm actually thinking about filling out an application as well, because people have encouraged me to, go for it too. And I've been getting more involved with the Santa Clara County group, and I'm on the Ledge Action Committee too, and I'm interested in developing more as a board member and being a more effective board member for us, and for also kind of giving a voice to Santa Clara at the at the state level. So I'm interested in it. So I'm thinking pretty seriously about putting my name in too. And I know that they usually, I don't know. I mean, I think last time we went through this, because Reed and Nancy were both up, putting their names in, and I don't know how likely it is they would pick people from the same board. So
it's not as effective. Let me just say that.
So, I mean, I'll put my name in, and then, if you get it, kudos to you. And if I do, kudos to me. And it's, and if neither of us gets it, that's okay. We'll, cry in a coffee together. It's fine. But, I mean, I am planning to run for that too. And, so I just, want to let you know. So.
Thank you. I appreciate that knowledge.
But if you win, I totally feel good about it too. So it's fine. Anyone else running from our board?
Reed, it looked like you went to unmute. Were you gonna say something about that
I
delegate
was
assembly?
just going to kind of explain to Isabel just that it's basically a position that's voted on by other boards across the county. So each board gets a ballot, and they pick the number of seats that are available for that year. And every year there's certain people that are up, and it's a 2-year term. And it's a little stressful because you have to it's basic. I mean, it's like running a little mini election. You write up a little bit about yourself and why you would be good for the job. And then it was in person, but I'm sure this year will be on Zoom, where you have, I think 2 minutes, maybe 3. I think it's 2 minutes, maybe 3. I can't remember, but to kind of talk about why people should vote for you. And then everybody goes back to their board, and every board gets to vote. So on who they pick. So it's interesting. And it's a lot about just kind of working with other people across the county. And it's very much a part of the Santa Clara County School Boards Association as well. Most people who aren't involved in that organization don't get elected, although Lorena Chavez did, because she wrote letters to every single person in the county. So she worked it. And if she's going to work that hard to get elected, then she deserves to get elected. So she actually kicked off Cynthia, who'd been on the board been on delegate assembly for I don't know, 10 or 15 years, which is crazy. But anyway, so good luck to both of you.
And we vote on that in January is when we decide who we're gonna do the ballot for, I believe, right?
You need to post. We need to have the nominations posted on the 15th of December, because the applications need to be into CSBA by the 7th. The ballots will be sent out sometime between March and April for voting.
Oh, we don't. So we're not voting on who we want to delegate assembly until March or April.
Correct. We're just putting
Okay.
forth nomination. This is the call for nominations. We would need to do at our December 15th meeting, or one of the meetings in December, because the application needs to be in by the 7th of January.
So the board has to nominate people for them to turn in applications. People can't just turn in applications.
Yes, that is correct.
Okay.
A board needs to nominate. It does not need to be your own board to nominate.
Okay, gotcha. But someone can't just apply unless a board nominates that person.
Correct.
Gotcha. Okay.
Can our board nominate both of us or only one?
I think we did it last time when it was Nancy and Reed. I don't remember for sure, but
there isn't any
Yeah.
there isn't any precluding doing that.
Okay.
It's just the past history is such that it's unlikely that both members would be elected to the board.
Okay.
okay. Anything else about that? Any questions or comments? Okay, we're over time. I apologize for those who wanted to get to that meeting. For the board goals, protocols, roles, and responsibilities, I think maybe Nancy, should we just just covered that paper that you created with all the information. I think that idea of putting it in the governance handbook, that's right. Is everyone good if we add that to our governance handbook?
Isn't that from our governance handbook, or is that a one pager?
We did not have that, and Nancy created it. Yeah.
Okay.
The only thing we have is descriptors for the board roles of president, vice president, and clerk.
The
I
officer.
thought we worked on this last time.
Yeah.
I thought we worked on this last time and we talked about adding it to our governance handbook. I mean, I know we talked about it. I just don't know if we actually did it.
It hasn't been added, to my knowledge.
So is everyone good if we add that to the governance handbook? Yeah. Thumbs up, unless, or do anyone want any additions or like edits to it? It's good. Okay.
Well, we're going to look at it all again in January, right? In general, like we're looking at.
Yeah, I mean, we'll go over it as part of our like onboarding new board member, and yeah, I mean, you always go over it a little bit, but I think we'll go over it more in depth since we have a new board member. Yeah. But we can add that piece in. Okay. Anything else on that item that we want to discuss before we finish up? So we're good finishing up? Okay.
No, we're good. I want to go to the other meeting. One more meeting.
Okay, our next meeting is tomorrow, November 19th at 7 p.m. and that is a regular board meeting. And with that, I adjourn our meeting at 7:53. Thank you, everybody.